Am I wrong for being annoyed that my husband pisses in a pisses in a water bottle at night? As the title states, my husband pees in bottles at night to avoid leaving the room. A little backstory. This is something I've asked him not to do numerous times. We also currently don't sleep in the same room as I am 37 weeks pregnant and he snores. So we've just been separated for ease of sleep at this point. And long story short, I found out he urinated in a few bottles while sleeping in our baby's nursery. So I asked him politely to please not do that and just get up and use the restroom 2 steps from the bedroom. But he claims he'll wake up the dogs, which in turn will wake me up, and he doesn't want to disrupt my sleep. And again, I told him I would prefer he went to the bathroom and not urinate in bottles in our soon-to-be baby's room. I really don't think it's too much to ask. Am I wrong for being annoyed that my husband pisses in water bottles at night? He claims that he'll wake up the dogs, which in turn will wake me up, and he doesn't want to disrupt my sleep. But I told him I would prefer he goes to the bathroom and not urinate in bottles in our soon-to-be baby's room. I really thought we'd gotten over it, but this morning I went to turn off the sound machine as he already went to work. That's when I found an emptied bottle that clearly once had urine in it. That's when I sent him a rage text saying that I've asked him not to do it and it's disgusting. He genuinely seems to think that he's doing me a favor by not getting up at night. But the dogs bark regardless and my sleep is shit at this point in pregnancy anyway. And also, he doesn't see the problem if he's dumping it out in the morning. I argued that I get my happy pregnant self up to use the bathroom too, so I'm at a loss. Top comment says, your husband is disgusting and I would quite literally leave a man over this. Am I wrong for telling my sister that her son is only special to her? I, female 26, have 3 older siblings, but this is about my oldest sister, Abby, female 37. Abby has a 5-year-old son and I have a 1-year-old daughter. Unfortunately, Abby dealt with years of fertility issues and had probably 10 plus miscarriages. Then she had her son, and of course, he was Abby's miracle rainbow baby. We were all so happy for her, but then it led to Abby spoiling her son and letting him get away with everything. Because to her, he's a miracle and he's so special. And as a result, everyone has just bit their tongue when it comes to her son and certain behaviors. Fast forward to Saturday when I had my daughter's first birthday party. It was mostly family and a few close friends were invited, and I did invite Abby and her son because I would have felt bad excluding them. We had so many different activities for the kids to do, but Abby's son liked none of them. And he was upset the presents weren't for him.
My wife, 42, caught us, her sister, 30, and me, 44, last Christmas in her dad's tool shed, and the look on her face still haunts me, waking me up in the middle of the night with chest pain and I can't go back to sleep afterwards. She didn't seem surprised. She wasn't angry. She didn't yell or cry. Nothing. I ran after her and all she said was that she expected this from her but never from me. We have 3 children together, 4, 5, and 11. I love my wife. I don't know if she loves me though. Since that day, she never looked me straight in my face. She never talked to me about anything other than the matters concerning the children, and even though she keeps a happy face around the children and family and friends, and nobody has suspected anything different about us, I know it's different and I know it's just a front. I miss her old, bubbly, cheerful self because when we're alone, she could finally be herself. She's silent and distant. I miss being irritated that she would never shut up when we're watching TV, commenting everything about the show and trying to beat the detectives to finding out who the killer is. Now we just sit in silence at each end of the sofa without a glance towards each other, and even though we share the same bed, it feels like she's miles away. The change came a month ago, like she finally started living again. I see that she's starting to put on weight again and I catch her smiling to herself. I don't know what changed, if she's finally forgiving me, or as I suspect, she's seeing someone else. However, I can't confront her because then everything is lost. Am I in the wrong because I, 38 female, don't want to take my stepson, 9, on vacation? My husband, 39, and I have been married for 5 years. We have 2 children of our own, both girls, age 5 and 2. I also have a son, 10, from a previous marriage, but I was widowed. My husband's ex is barely involved in my stepson's life at all. They got divorced when stepson was 2, and his ex wanted a fresh start. So my husband did the decent selfish thing and had complete custody of their son, even though he wanted shared custody. I got a bonus at work and I really want to go on vacation with just my family just once. We've been on family vacations all together lots of times, but just once I want to spend my money going on vacation where I'm not looking after someone else's kid. I want stepson to stay with his mom while we go on vacation. My husband sees my point of view and is okay with it. I don't think I'm being unreasonable at all. My mom found out what I was planning and said that I'm being a complete a-hole. These are the reasons that she says that I could be an a-hole. 1. My mom says that if the stepson's mom is improperly involved in his life, I should be more involved in his life to compensate. I think that this is a completely unfair expectation. 2. She also says that I'm being a hypocrite taking my son, but I think that is totally different because my son doesn't have another parent. I'm all he's got. If stepson's mom won't take him just for once, obviously he'll come on vacation with us. But I don't think that I'm an a-hole to ask if I can have a vacation with my own family just one time. It's not like I hate stepson or something. He's a nice kid. He's just not mine. So, am I in the wrong? Am I in the wrong for soaking my niece with a hose after I was told not to because she was wearing white? I'm 34 male and a dad of 4. My babies are 13 male, 11 female, 11 male, and 8 male. Our youngest has some significant sensory issues and anger management issues, which he's being evaluated for. Important info for context. He's already been diagnosed with ODD, but this goes beyond that. My sister, 34, my twin, has a 12-year-old daughter, Jane, who is a spoiled, rotten kid as she's an only child, and my sister puts a whole new meaning to gentle parenting. As in, she doesn't parent, because her kid is just expressing herself and she doesn't want to parent out her personality, which sucks. I love my niece to the depth of my being, but I do not like her or my sister. I don't know how else to put it. Now on Saturday, we had a memorial of life service for my uncle who passed away several months ago. It was held at my brother's house. There was probably about 12 kids there. We got easily 40 of those 60-pack water balloon things and let the kids go ham. It was a huge ordeal. However, my youngest at some point decided the water was too much for him to handle, said he was done playing and came to sit by me and dry off. He was being great, which I was grateful for because he has a lot of bad days. But my niece kept coming and throwing more water balloons at him after she was asked to stop. It was causing him to spiral and he starts raging out. And my sister was telling me to calm my kid down and tell him to stop being a baby. She didn't want to get wet, so every single time he went to throw one back, she would start screaming, telling him to stop. At that point, my sister got involved as well and yelled at my son saying, "Don't you dare." She said not to get her wet because she's wearing white and it'll be see-through. I told her to tell her daughter to stop throwing water balloons at my son because he had already said stop, and she said, "He's already effing wet." So basically, my niece was perfectly fine to throw shit at my kid, who asked her to stop repeatedly, but they weren't letting him defend himself. The last time my niece came up to him, I spoke and said, "Don't think about it." He said no. She didn't listen and threw it anyway, so I grabbed the hose behind me and drenched her for a solid 30 seconds. She immediately starts crying and covering herself and goes to hang out in my sister's car. My sister starts berating me and saying that I knew it was going to make her see-through and decided to be a creep anyway. My mom and father kicked her out for that comment. I'm getting texts from my brother-in-law, however, saying that I'm a pig and what I did was uncalled for and abusive, and that I would never be allowed to see my niece again because I'm inappropriate. Story time about how I was ghosted at my own wedding. When I was 17, I started dating my ex-fiancé. We met through mutual friends at my senior ball. Our personalities instantly clicked and we started dating shortly after. We ended up going to the same community college and transferring to the same university. Shortly after our 5-year anniversary, he proposed to me in Hawaii during a spring break vacation. I was ecstatic and instantly started planning everything. During this time, everything seemed to be going smoothly. I noticed he was working a lot of overtime and we only saw each other on his days off, but I didn't mind because I was busy with my job and planning our wedding. My parents passed away when I was young, so the only close family that was attending our wedding was my brother and sister. My brother was going to give me away, my sister was my maid of honor. The rest of our guests were his family and our friends. People started arriving and everything seemed to be going smoothly. However, an hour before the ceremony, I was told that he couldn't be found anywhere. Obviously, this worried me and everyone started frantically looking for him. I thought to myself that he'd possibly been in an accident or something grave had happened. When I tried calling him, the calls wouldn't go through and the number wasn't in use anymore. I checked his social media pages and all of them were gone. My brother went to our apartment to check for him, and when he called me, I felt like my whole world fell apart. He told me that our apartment had been cleaned out of all of his things. It's like he completely vanished. All that he left was a note saying, "I can't do this, I'm sorry." I had to tell everyone that the wedding was off. I was broken and had no idea why it happened. I spent the next couple years healing and working on myself, then meeting someone amazing who helped me overcome what had happened. I never thought I was going to hear from my ex again until one day I got a call from an unsaved number.
Am I the asshole for ruining a pregnancy announcement by telling the woman she may have taken the wrong test? My husband and I recently invited 8 friends for lunch, and we were asked if we could also include a new couple, Doug and Sasha. We have never met them before, but everyone who was invited had, so we said sure. At one point during dinner, Sasha needed to use the restroom, and I told her to use the master suite since the other bathroom was occupied. I was helping my husband in the kitchen when Sasha came out of the room bawling and holding something in her hand. At first, I thought she hurt herself, but she said something to Doug that caused him to drop to his knees, cry, and begin kissing her stomach. All of our friends began screaming, jumping, and crying. It was insane. Finally, Sasha tells my husband and I that she is pregnant. Of course, we congratulate both of them, and then I give them a bag to put the pregnancy test in. I will admit, I did find it odd that she brought a pregnancy test and took it at a complete stranger's house, but I didn't say that out loud. Once everyone sat down to eat, Sasha looked over to me and said, "I hope you don't mind that I used one of your pregnancy tests. I just saw them and I had to." Looking at her confused, I responded, "I don't have any pregnancy tests." Sasha says yes, in your drawer. I asked Sasha if she meant the blue box in the back of my lower left drawer that was closed. She seemed to realize I was pointing out that she basically snooped around, and she sheepishly said the box said pregnancy for pregnancy tests. I said, Sasha, the brand is Pregmate, and those are ovulation tests. I do not own pregnancy tests. Did you take an ovulation test? Her husband freaked the absolute F out at me and said his wife was not an idiot and can read a box. He insisted Sasha get the test out now and show me that I'm wrong. Sasha refused, saying she didn't need to prove anything to a complete stranger and insisted they leave immediately. One of the couples thought that Doug and Sasha acted completely ridiculous, while the other 3 couples thought I should have pulled Sasha aside to discuss my concerns and said I was the asshole for saying something in front of everyone. Honestly, the whole situation caught me off guard and everything happened so quickly. The whole thing was bizarre and confusing. I just didn't have the time to put the pieces together mentally before asking about the ovulation tests. Also, I found out later through one of my friends that Sasha did take the ovulation test and she is not pregnant.
I found out that I was pregnant a month ago. I've been on birth control since I was 15. Same pill. I'm enrolled in school, have a job, and an apartment in a city close to home. I have a cat too. Everything was perfect. 6 weeks ago I missed my period. Waited 10 days, missed my period. This wasn't normal. I originally started the pill because of my irregular period. Did I miss a pill? I counted twice, 3 times, 4. No extras. I looked back at the open pack I had for this month and the unopened one for the next month. They weren't expired. They were the exact same, down to the print of expiration date. I fished the trash can for last month's empty package, same thing. I couldn't stop thinking about it. On the way to class that morning, I grabbed 3 pregnancy tests from the campus bookstore. I sat my coffee and breakfast sandwich outside the bathroom door and went in. I've never taken a pregnancy test, but I've always heard the phrase pee on a stick, so I opened all 3 and used them at the same time and waited. I waited 3 minutes and washed my hands, grabbing each of the tests in a paper towel. All 3 of them were positive. I cried. I dry heaved. I wanted to pass out on the bathroom floor. I called my boyfriend and he was excited as ever. I was panicking, saying we weren't ready for a baby, how I couldn't stay in school and work with a newborn, how I would lose everything. I'm not ready. I don't want children right now. He started to say how I was selfish and would just have to put my classes and whatnot on hold until the baby was old enough to go to daycare. That made me nauseous. I told him that I was coming home and he met me there. He held me and cried, saying how happy he was. I felt so disgusted with myself for knowing that I didn't want this baby after seeing him cry like that. I wanted to try and keep the baby for him. I thought about having the baby and just leaving him with it. I thought about disappearing and never having the baby. But after a few days, I had to ask what he thought of me getting rid of the baby. He told me that he would hate me. He would never speak to me again. He laid into me, going on and on about me being a baby killer, how I was selfish, evil, and immature for even thinking something like that. We got into a huge argument from there and I made him leave. He broke my TV and my favorite vase. I cried over this for days, begging him to take me back. He said he would if I kept the baby. Needless to say, he didn't take me back. I spent every night after drinking bottle after bottle of Jim Beam whiskey, apple flavored, my dad's favorite. I miscarried in the dead of the night on Thursday. Thought I had a real bad stomach bug until I saw the blood in my toilet. My neighbor took me to the hospital where my now ex's sister works. He showed up with my mom, and his dad. While she half hugged me, his mom and his dad made comments about how I probably did this on purpose, considering I didn't want the baby anyway. I just kept my mouth shut. My mom asked if they were here to support me or their son, and if they weren't here for me, then they should just leave. They started arguing and eventually it got loud and security escorted everyone out. But not before my ex and his family could start shouting at the top of their lungs how I'm a baby killer and I'm going to hell, etc. I'm in so much pain. I'm so tired and I'm so angry everything had to come to this. I really loved him and now I feel like I'm losing everybody because of this. My ex was 23 and I'm 19. I'm trying to convince myself that the miscarriage isn't my fault, but I still feel like shit.
My half-sister tried to show up to my engagement party in a wedding dress. Story time. Me and my half-sister Amy have never been close, and we're both 24. My dad left my mum for Amy's mum just after I was born. And not only does Amy not like me, her mum's not my biggest fan either. Me and my fiancé Steve got engaged last month, and our engagement party is on Saturday. We didn't want anything too crazy for the dress code, so we just said like nice, casual, but formal. So one day when I was at work, my cousin messaged me and she was like, girl, I have got something to show you. And it was the outfit that Amy was planning on wearing to my party. Just some context, this is what she was planning on wearing. It was basically a wedding dress. And as you can imagine, this made me so mad. And I was like, fuck this, I'm changing the plan of the party. I was changing the dress code from casual formal to fancy dress. And my mum's side of the family is crazy for Halloween, so they were buzzing. I texted my dad and told him to relay the message on to Amy and her mum. And I knew full well he'd forget to do that and he'd tell them last minute. So Saturday rolls around and guests start arriving. And the majority of people were in costumes and it looked great. For those of them that it was too last minute, I'd already arranged for some spare costumes. It was basically just like fun hats and little wigs. I just entered my Rare Beauty on my clip. And I'm just waiting for the moment that my stepfamily are going to arrive. And they walk in an hour late. As soon as Amy walked in, she lost it. She realised everyone was wearing these big, elaborate costumes and that she wasn't going to stand out anymore with a stupid freaking wedding dress. And shocker, Amy ran out crying. My dad and stepmom, wicked witch, told me that I was being so childish and I'd really outdone myself this time. And for those wondering about costumes, I was Barbie and Steve was Ken and my mum and aunts were all ABBA.